good to finally be talking with you face to face. This is awesome.
For sure. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And, I'm a huge fan, so it's kind of surreal to be here. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. No, the pleasure is all mine. We've been talking for
Sure.
what feels like a couple years now. You've been getting your brand started and your line started, and it's just been a fascinating journey to follow along with. I mean, it's very inspirational for us in the community to watch that sort of evolution take place. I'm just super stoked to have you on. Somebody who's getting his cutting his teeth actually creating his own brand. It's really awesome. So
well, thank you. That means a lot, and you talked about the community, and that's kind of why I set out, and it's been like such a wild ride,
yeah,
it's
I bet
time in the making. And
yeah,
before I ever got going, I didn't understand. I had an idea. I like to think of myself as a visions person. I like to work with people. I love people, but I didn't understand what went behind really bringing a brand to market. And then there's like the business side. And, I know, you're starting to really get to know that from your personal endeavors. And
oh yeah,
it's not black and white, and it's,
no,
it's fun.
It's fun. Yes. It's very fun. It's incredibly arduous. Like every little bit of progress that you make just comes with so much blood, sweat, and tears. It's something you can't appreciate until you start trying to do it yourself. It's like, whoa, this is way more involved than I thought.
So. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, now it's given me, I'm grateful for the experience on a lot, but just the appreciation I now have for any business on any level, any micro level, macro level, just if they're at the 9-cent store, it's a piece of gum. I'm like, it took them a lot to get on that shelf, to get out to market, to be just selling somewhere,
That is such a good point. Oh my God. Yeah. I resonate with that so much more now too. And especially last night, we went to a party and they had a food truck out there. And I'm just thinking, wow, that food truck, I'm just thinking what goes into that food truck, right? It was staffed with like 4 people. They have to drive the truck. They have to have all the food stocked. I'm watching them. They're getting out of the truck. They're like writing out the menu on the outside of it. Like that took like 45 minutes, it was like just a big process. And then people start lining up, and then they have to actually start making the food. And then they have to make enough sales to make it worth their time. It's just like,
yeah. And then if they ever want to grow it, they need to get more people and innovate product, or it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so insane. It's so insane, like what all goes into it. And then at the end of the day, then you have to like sort of look at it at like the end of the month, at the end of the year, and say, did I make money? Did I actually make any money?
Yeah.
That's another question. Like, did I make enough to do this for another year, or like, what am I going to do?
Fortunately, we haven't crossed that bridge yet. Find out soon. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And, but it's definitely a labor of love at this point.
For sure, man. I could relate so much to that, brother. I'm telling you, like, I'm looking at the books and I'm like, yeah, I spent about 3 times as much as I've made so far. But it's my first year and I don't even have my website up yet. So
yeah,
I'm not even going to really start making that determination probably for another 2 years, maybe.
You have great product. You're a great person behind the brand. So slow and gonna blossom. So
yeah, that's what I'm praying for. So, but we'll see. But yeah, so anyway, so I kind of wanted to like first just sort of get to know you, get your backstory. I followed along on your Instagram since the beginning. I know that you grew up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And that you were inspired by your father, his cowboy boots, like really like planted that boot seed in your head. Like, whoa, boots are cool. Like, yeah. So talk about that. How was it? What was it like growing up in San Francisco as a kid?
San Francisco is awesome. It's forever will hold a place in my heart. And, my parents still live in the Bay Area, and a lot of friends, a lot of family. And, I'm grateful for that experience. It really helped shape me. It was when I was growing up, it was really fast, kind of more aggressive city life, ran around parks, school all over the place. It was fun because San Francisco is really, I know you're familiar with it, but it's really small. All the neighborhoods it's a melting pot, I always say, of different cultures, different backgrounds. You have to kind of get along and have at least some sort of respect for people because you don't know who they are, what they do, It's usually pretty casual. So it's laid back attitude, but it was awesome. Part of the biggest thing that I took away and kind of looking back at it now is that connection aspect. I go back to that. And that's what's huge for me is just, there was so many different cultures, different social economic backgrounds that I interacted with and got to be around. And for me, I think that was a really pivotal, foundation point for me growing up and now having the hindsight to be able to look at it that way. I now live in San Diego County, which is awesome. And I feel like that transition, for where I'm at in my life is perfect,
Definitely. That's so cool. So you're in San Diego now?
In San Diego, in a city called San Marcos, of more north, probably about 45 minutes from downtown San Diego, but I love it. I've done the city life, the downtown kind of, thing for a long time. So I'm grateful to kind of be where I'm at. It's, 12 minutes from Oceanside, California. And I love it. I spend a lot of time there. It's beach. It's cool.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Yeah, San Diego is so gorgeous. I love the weather there. I've traveled there a few times in my life, and it's every time I get to go there, it's just so gorgeous. I love it out west. I live over in Maryland on the east side of but my heart is really out west. My sister, she worked in Las Vegas as a school teacher for almost 20 years. And so out west was sort of my home away from home growing up. Because my sister, she's quite a bit older than me. And so we would always take trips out to California just because it's so close to, Nevada. And so, yeah, in 4.5 hours, we could be in San Diego. It's wild. And I just love the scenery out west. I love the climate. I love the mountains, there's just nothing like it. We were messaging yesterday. You said you were you were traveling from Leon to Guadalajara right now.
Yeah, I'm actually in Guadalajara now. But I was on the road when we were messaging. I was in the car on the road from Leon, which is a 2.5, 3 hour drive, depending, traffic. So it's relatively close. And it's a beautiful drive. I think I sent you a picture and I'm just like blown away, just being immersed in nature. And I don't know, tremendous, but it's cool. And Guadalajara is known for making women's shoes. So it's a big hub for women's shoes, cemented construction, different construction. Leon obviously is a lot of Goodyear welt, Western boots, Chelsea's, whatever, all kinds of different things. But it's mostly the construction is different, in particular, the bottom part of the boot. And there's a lot of sneakers, but it's predominantly male shoes. So Guadalajara's women, Leon's males. There's a lot of back and forth about it, but from people I've talked to, like in Leon, they say that the craftsmanship in terms of like the stitching, right, the precision is better here in Guadalajara, but the construction in terms of like welt and everything that I'm trying to do and that people, were a fan of do is in Leon. It's not done here. I've searched up and down here for somebody who can do well, and there's nobody. There's one guy who kind of does like repairs, but no, it's not non-existent. And it's kind of weird to me because it's so close, right? You would figure, but it doesn't really exist here.
Wow, that's so interesting. Chisos, I just got a pair of Chisos Cowboy boots. Yeah, and I know that their boots are constructed in Mexico, but I'm not super familiar with the footwear scene in Mexico. I know that Nick from Stridewise, he went down there to Lafarque Tannery and toured it, and I think he built his own pair of boots as well. So you did a good job like running us through like what the scene's like down there. So they have a lot of warehouses, a lot of factories that service a lot of brands. Is that kind of what's going on?
Dale, I like that it's casual. We can just kind of talk about things, but it is mind blowing here in Leon. Literally it is the majority, I would say, and people who are watching this from there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say it's anywhere from 70 to 80% of a lot of the manufacturing is exported to different parts of the world, without naming a lot of people, but there's a ton of US brands. There's a ton of parts that get sent out to, whether it's Asia, whether it's Europe, US, everywhere. It is like a boot person's dream. I mean, literally overwhelming with the amount of factories, the amount of material, and then most importantly, the know-how, right? The craftsmanship. I mean, it has a history that you can date back, close to 400 years of shoemaking, influenced by a lot of the Spanish, some of the Dutch, when they came over. So there's really the know-how, which in my opinion is something that is valuable and, part of the centerpiece to all of it that makes it work. And obviously with time, they've gotten better at all aspects of it. But I mean, you mentioned Lafargue, the leather I'm using is from Lafargue. It's a huge operation, sustainability at the forefront, really quality stuff, the way they're going about their business. But there's other tanneries there. It's wild.
Wow. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Lafargue. So do you go, how's it work? Do you just kind of walk in there, or do you set up a meeting and do a tour? Or
you could definitely, they're really great about everything. They're growing, they're expanding. I'll tell you an interesting story, and now I've shared it. Last time I was there through Holland, fantastic guy, great contact, knows a lot of people, and he's been really helpful. But I went, was able to meet the owner this time, different people. But when I first went, I told them the story for the first time. When I started all this, I was just researching, didn't know a lot, researching, and I stumbled upon Lafargue. And so I was, for some weird, I didn't even know it like that, but I said, I have to go here. This is where I have to go for some reason. I bought a ticket. I flew out there, didn't know anything or anyone. Mind you, that was the first time in that city. And I go to Lafargue and I'm like, hey, my name is Christian. I have an appointment. They're like, with who? I'm like, I forget what name. And they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the United States, from San Francisco. I'm looking to do this. They're like, we don't have you here. Mind you, I'm already there. I'm like, you sure? They get somebody from sales. This guy at the time named Roberto, and he was really helpful. And he was like, hey, I'm going to show you around. And throughout the tour, he was like, I know you don't have an appointment, but it says a lot about you that you're in front of me. He's like, I'm going to treat you like I treat everybody. He said something that always stuck with me. He said, I'm going to treat you like I treat everybody, because right now you're nobody, but I don't know who you might be. And so I afford everybody the same level of respect. And I was like, I love that, and from there, we kind of started building a relationship. And even though it didn't go anywhere for a long time, we just kept in touch. But they're great about tours. So I went, they gave me a tour. They showed me the process. I was blown away. It was my first time in a tannery, and it was a massive operation there, and it's grown now. But yeah, it was wild to see, to touch, to understand. But you can spend your whole life researching leather, it's quite the craft. But
that's so true.
They have a front of house kind of where you can buy one hide, one side, whatever you need. And then obviously they do volume for a lot of great brands out there.
For sure. Well, and I'm glad you covered that, because I was going to sort of ask you, so I'm sort of familiar with your inspiration, right? With your dad and seeing his cowboy boots, and then growing up, and you were sort of you were into sneakers for a while, but then you realized that you really love boots. And then, so I was going to ask you, you took your inspiration, but then I was going to ask you how you just got started. It's the inspiration's there, fine, but how do I make a brand now? And so I'm glad you covered that, because it's almost like, who do you talk to?
You're absolutely right, Dale. And I feel like, there's always a part of me when I'm, like yourself, going through about the process of learning and doing the business and the sourcing and connections. And a lot of people don't get to see that. There's brilliant in the community. I'm a part of, like yourself, the Stitch Down community, which has been fantastic. I am boot hunter very early on, has been helpful and still to this day. So forever grateful to him. But learning and understanding the back part of like, where do I go? You know, like I just mentioned Lafargue, I didn't know. I just, for some weird reason, I like to lean into my intuition, was like, this is where I got to go, bought a ticket, headed there.
Wow.
And mind you, even though my parents come to Mexico, I've never been to Leon at that point. It was like a foreign world to me. And I just show up. And one thing led to another. So from there, I went downtown, literally knocked around doors and started asking, hey, I have an idea. Who can I go to? And you'll get, you know, a bunch of people on the street saying, go here, go there, here. But it's hard to get into the actual factories if you're starting and there's minimums and everything that complicates that part of it. But basically, I just knocked around. First person that I went to for manufacturing, you know, seemed like a great guy, the whole thing, laid it out. I end up getting robbed, you know, so I didn't know the business side of it, didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a decent amount. They just kind of disappeared, changed their number, took the money, left.
Really?
Yeah. That was my very first experience. So grateful for it though, because it was the first, you know.
It also says a lot about you that, you know, like the guy at the tannery said, you know, I don't know who you're gonna be, but, you know, like right now, I don't know who you are, but eventually you could be very big. It's like, it says a lot about you that you're willing to like take these leaps of faith, you know, that it's like, I don't know what's going to happen when I get to Mexico. I might get there and not meet anybody, you know, or I might get robbed.
Yeah.
And it says a lot about your character that you wouldn't let these things like stop you. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to hit a lot of obstacles, but I'm going to walk around them, or I'm going to figure out the next step. I'm not going to stop though. You know, I think that persistence says a lot about your character. So man, that's awesome. You'll make it work no matter what, you know. I think that says a lot about you. That's really cool.
I really appreciate that, Dale. That means a lot. And, you know, I think I've always had the mindset that through my own journey in life, a lot of things have happened, good and bad. And I really try to focus on, like, my time here on this earth is limited. Mm-hmm. And, you know, your passions evolve or change, people in your life, but it's important to kind of stay true to yourself and pursue whatever it is that fills you with the happiness, joy, no matter what, right? Because I always say time and money is either wasted or invested on the daily in anything you do. And if you're investing that in things that you feel at that moment are what you should be doing, then I can never lose. I can never lose that way. But if I'm pursuing things that don't really fill me, that I'm like questioning, well, it's not going to render the same, you know, satisfaction or result in the end. And where I am here, I don't pretend to know everything. I'm okay saying I don't know. I mean, the community has been really helpful in that way, because there are people, as you know, yourself included, that know way more than I do.
Oh, I don't know anything.
And I'm totally okay with that, because that's where I'm at. I'm learning. I'm forever wanting to learn. Right now it's boots. If I decide to do soda, then that's what it is too. You know, I'm forever a student of whatever it is I'm doing. And I feel like, you know, I always say, like, keep an open heart, open mind.
Definitely.
I feel like that's the best way to be.
Man, I agree. You know, like, we go to school, and as students growing up, we sort of have this idea that one day I won't have to go to school anymore. One day I'll be the master. I could stop learning. That's not true. You always have to stay learning. You know, sure. There's no such thing as the master who's accumulated every last bit of knowledge that he'll ever need, and people just come to him for his infinite wisdom. No. I wish that were the case, but unfortunately, like, in order to be successful, we have to have our eyes open and our ears listening, and we have to dedicate ourselves to being lifelong students. I think that's I think that's key to success. I think that's the thing they don't teach you in school, is like, you're never getting out of this. You're never getting out of school.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get caught up in it, myself included, that it's like, one day, whether working out or, money or the boots, and it's like, when I get here, then it's, but no, you're forever on this journey.
Yes.
And, trying to change the mindset that way helps a lot. But like everything, you're human, you have bad days, and so
that's so true. But yeah, I really, what you said there really resonated with me, which was like, we have a finite amount of time on this earth.
for
So
sure.
let's make it count, like let's do what, sort of sets our soul on fire with passion, follow our interests, meet good people along the way, enjoy the journey, but keep climbing, keep climbing, don't stop climbing. I think that really resonates with me, because I don't think getting to that point to where you just sort of kick your feet up and relax and retire is the goal. I don't think that will ever be my goal, just because it's like, I've been in situations where I don't have to do anything, like nothing's expected of me. And that stagnation just kills me. Like, I think this is true for all humans. We need that connection. We need that community. We need that engagement. And we need to strive, because if we don't strive and struggle a little bit, then we don't appreciate life,
Agreed.
And
100%.
before we get on with, because I want to ask you a lot more about like where your brand is headed and everything. But before I go anywhere, I want to ask you, what boots are you wearing?
So right now, I am actually not wearing boots. I am actually wearing the Oakstreet Bootmakers, fantastic brand. So when I went to Chicago, they were kind enough with the Stitch Down community to gift everyone a pair of these, which was fantastic. And I brought a ton of boots with me, samples. I mean, I got a pair or two here, but the majority I left at the factory, just going over final specs and corrections and sure everything's ready to go. So I left those there with me. I have 1-in-1 pair right now of mine, but I'm actually wearing these super comfortable gray company.
Wow, those are sweet. So that's like a tan rough out.
You know what? I believe so. I know it's Horween.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the leather type.
Okay.
But really comfortable, great brand, great shoe.
Yeah. It looks like it's on like a Vibram wedge sole. Super nice. Man, you lucked out with those. Those are sweet.
Really kind. Just another bonus of going on trips, being a part of the Stitch Down community, which was fantastic. So
true. And I wanted to ask you about your Stitch Down pair. So did you wear your own Christian Daniel boots as part of the Stitch Down Thunderdome?
Yeah, I did. That was like the original first sample. And those were the ones I wore for the Stitch Down.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it might have been the last post, you actually walked into the ocean with them. That was super cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of mixed feedback on that, but it just felt right,
Yeah, definitely. I do it all the time. If I'm near water, I'll submerge the boot. There's no harm in it, like if you can walk in the rain, those same areas of the boot are going to get wet, as long as you're not like submerging the shaft beneath the water, then it's fine.
Yeah, well, that was where I made the mistake. I mean, I definitely submerged the entire thing.
Okay.
All of it. So I got a lot of mixed feedback from that, but it was sample pairs.
Yeah.
Great experience. And I was always near the water. I mean, I would say every day at least, or every other day at worst, but walking the beach and in the boots, I was like that weird person there with shorts, 80 degrees and some Chelsea's. And it just felt right. And but don't recommend the salt, the water, and the heat. I mean, really beat the boot up. And it was a good lesson for the next Stitch Down competition. Definitely take care of it different, not abuse it that way. But I mean, it wasn't like my way. It was just something I was doing every day walking. But there's a strand that runs around along there, and so water sometimes overflows, so it's wet. The sun's there, the salt is horrible for the leather. So
that's definitely true. I'm still trying to figure out, like you said, like you can study leather your whole life and never really understand what it is. Like I'm still trying to figure it out and like what it can take. And working with leather now, like
right.
I used to be like really paranoid about scuffing my boots on like a curb or something like that.
Yeah.
But now that I've made bags out of like, Seidel's double shot and stuff, like I throw that stuff down. I lay it down on the concrete. I throw it in the grass. I leave it in my trunk. It gets scuffed up everywhere. It still looks fantastic. So it can take like direct sort of, abrasion with scratchy surfaces, but then also it's the water question. Like, I hear various things like, how does leather interact with water? And it's, in my experience, it's fine unless, like, yeah, what you're saying, salt water. I guess the salt could permeate, and then as it dries, I guess the salt itself is sort of damaging to the leather, possibly. I mean, I guess what I would do in that case is I'd probably rinse them off with fresh water after saltwater exposure. I'd probably just hose them off with fresh water to get that salt deposit off. And then, yeah, let them air dry. And then I'd probably just see, if they need a conditioning or something like that after that. But I'm sure it would be mostly okay.
Know a lot about different various types of leather, and they're super resistant, which is amazing. I feel like with my situation, it was like constant. So it was like nearly a day, and then getting a lot of water on it and hiking different things. But when I submerged it in the ocean, it really seeped in there into the little grains, and it just obviously not something you want to do,
Right. In an ideal situation, we would avoid salt water, I guess.
Highly recommend avoiding submerging your boots in ocean water.
Right, for sure. So we went through the initial steps of like sort of getting your brand started. So you went to Lafargue and you made contacts there. Yeah, what happened after that initial Lafargue contact?
So after that, I through knocking around doors and meeting people. I mean, literally, like if you go to Leon, like the downtown area, and that's where I first went, there is, I mean, hundreds of stores selling boots, bags, everything under the sun. But I think of it a lot like not all of it is great stuff. It's just a huge industry. So people are reselling, there's knockoffs of things. So things are all over the street. People are coming up to you. But that's not where you want to be, right? If you're trying to build some quality. So for me, though, that's where I started. I said, hey, like I know they knew people. So there's small, tiny, factories or individual groups of people that do work like uppers at their house. And then, some people do the lining somewhere else. So I kind of got connected with someone who I thought at the time did a little bit of everything on a very small level. And that was just through word of mouth and showing up and talking to them and saying, hey, here's what I want to do. Like, can you help me? Of course, they said, yes, we can. No problem. No minimums, no nothing. So I'm like, this is fantastic. Super excited. I just went to Lafargue. I'm excited. But yeah, it didn't work out.
Okay.
That was the first time I got robbed. And then
oh, wow.
From there, it was kind of going back to figure out who can I go to? Ended up finding somebody who kind of operated as a broker. So worked with larger brands, but was in between trying to do his own thing and then also working with a very small factory. Mm-hmm. And me and him worked together for, it had to be close to 2 years roughly, getting samples. But, I want to one day upload like the first sample I had, which was horrible. Then it was like, if I got a pair of, whatever, $2,000 boots, I was just in love because it was an idea that came to fruition. But from there, it was just building with that individual, and it just took forever. Right. He had, worked with other large brands and was kind of trying to do this, but I don't think he was at that point. He just was like, hey, I'll take you on and we'll work. And I said, obviously, yeah, it would just take me about literally 6 to 8 months to get something in my hands.
Okay.
And then that's not counting like any revisions or change. So it was just a long time. So I think part of why it's taking so long sometimes is it's not by choice. If it was me, I'd have it out tomorrow and it'd just go well. And, but that was kind of the process. I worked with him for a really long time. From there, that relationship, it kind of came to a standstill because he said he he was setting up his own thing. We were working on samples, and then he's just like, hey, I don't really have the whole situation set up properly. Like, let me get back to you in a couple months. And that turned into, I still haven't heard from him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to just keep moving. And through, you know, I feel like God, people, just things have kind of, and I would say it's been a year that I'm now with my current manufacturer, which is phenomenal, great relationship, the craftsmanship, the quality, you know, and they've been patient also with me, learning and understanding things. And so I would say, you know, it's been like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
In totality. But the last years where I'm like, now all that learning was like, now I'm with somebody and understanding like, okay, well, this is kind of what's going on. This is kind of how it works. I've been to the factory. I've seen the process. I know the artisans by name, their family, their background, like understanding how that works as relation to the business side, to last, to grading, to scaling, right, to patterns. Like, so much goes into it. And I now have I would say it's been a year, and have a better understanding now of how the process works. And, you know.
Okay, man, that is so fascinating. Yeah, it sounds like, you know, it really just comes down to meeting the right people and getting in with the right operation, setting the scene. Like, I guess there's just going to be a lot of little operations, family run operations, you know, nothing like super official, nothing super like institutionalized. Like, it's a matter of like almost look organically through grassroots, making connections, human connections, getting to know these people, trusting them, you know, they become your family. And then you can start building your line through many moving parts. Like you said, there's many moving parts to all this. And so it sounds like to me, yeah, you just had to find like the right people that had the right things going.
For sure. I mean, but part of that, you know, and cut me off, I'm all over the place, but people don't understand that. Some people do. I'm sorry. So not to generalize, but the back side of this is that, you know, there's minimums, right? So some of the contacts I met early on, and I would literally, I mean, email, call, I mean, from people from factories to LA, to Mexico, to Italy, like everywhere. Okay. You know what? Like, the minimum's X. And I'm like, I can't do X. They're like, well, I know how it is. I mean, I talked to a company early on, and I was super stoked about it. But I mean, the prices were wild. Like, I was like, this is like, I mean, do you already have to be rich to kind of try to set this?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yes. So it's interesting, just even learning all that, and minimum, you know, everything.
Wow. I'm with you. Like, I talked to Derek at Seidel, and the minimum that they, at the Seidel tannery, the minimum that they expect your order to be is like 100 sides. I'm like, 100 sides. I'm one person.
Right.
Like, could we do 10? Like, I was thinking 5 was going to be a lot, but can we do 10? And so we settled on 20. And even to make 20 happen, he had to like move things around. He had to like make a special accommodation to get me such a small amount. And I'm super thankful that he was able to do that. I've got, you know, a lot of good leather to start with, but at the same time, it's like 100 sides. That would have ran probably, like, just off the top of my head, probably 25, 30 grand.
Right.
For 100 sides. And not to mention, what am I going to do with all that? Me, myself, I'll be building bags for the rest of my life off that stock, you know? I'll never get through all that myself.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm kind of glad we're touching on a lot of things now, and I'm in a different place. I feel like, you know, you know, Brian was fantastic he interviewed me and kind of gave me, you know, a little bit of a voice. Super grateful for that, because I didn't know then as much as I know now. And I hope that can be the case in 6 months, 8 months, you know. But yeah, there's so much that goes into it. I mean, you talk about the leather, and, you know, I've reached out to a lot of people, and they've been, I would say that the majority of people have been so helpful. Again, this goes back to people. I wouldn't have this if it wasn't for people. I mean, everybody from, you know, John now, Horween, Dave at Wicked and Craig, C.F. Stead. I mean, the FARC, obviously.
Wow, that's awesome.
everybody, Seidel as well. They've been fantastic with being like, hey, here's, some samples. Myron have reached out. Like everybody has really receptive. I'm grateful for that because, starting off, you want to build a name for yourself, but you don't really have the platform. You may not have the finances. So it's great to see that within this boot community, overall, the response is, I'll help you, or let me, or we don't normally do this, but let me see what we can do for you.
Yes, you're so right. I think that's what keeps us coming back. It sounds so cliche when I say it, but it's really the people that keeps me so engaged in all this. It's for some reason, the boot community seems to be like the friendliest group of people I've ever met. I'm not just saying that. Like I've been a part of like several different communities, and some of them get really toxic, but like the boot community, it's just like a bunch of gentlemen, it really is. It's like a gentleman's network, a gentleman's game. It really is. It doesn't, at least not what I've encountered so far, it doesn't seem to be very cutthroat. It doesn't seem to get very toxic. It's great. People are just, they're so generous. They're so kind. That's what I love about it. I'm glad to hear that you're having that same experience, trying to find your way, trying to get your bearings with all this. And people are like, dude, let me help you out. That's great.
For sure. It's twofold, it's having the vulnerability to say, I don't know, can you help? And reaching out and putting yourself in that, I'm somebody who wants to know everything, who, my own ego to be like, I know this, I can do this, I don't need help. But the truth of the matter is I don't know anything. I'm trying to figure it out just like everybody here. 2 days ago, I think now, I was in Leon, and we went out to dinner with Marco from Arador and Chepe from Chepe Boots. And, they were kind enough. We went out to dinner with their families and showed me around and lend their expertise. Just, they were actually out there doing it. And, before that, it was like Holland when I went to Leon, and same thing. It was just like, I took a moment to be like, how surreal is this? Like, we're all here. We were strangers just connecting on Instagram. We're in another country now. Yeah. We're having coffee.
Right.
With Marco and Chepe's, like, we're eating dinner at this Italian restaurant owned by one of supposedly the best last makers in all of Mexico, who came from Italy, who now has retired 30 years in the business and opened up one of the most thriving pizza businesses in Leon. And so we were talking boots flooded with information. It was just mind blowing. And I was like, this is beautiful. Like, this is wild that this.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I was just thinking just now, I'm glad that we're doing this interview now, because you're like really in the trenches right now. Like right now, this is where you're like right in the thick of building it. Like you're seeing the fruits of your labor sort of culminate right now. And everything is still fresh on your mind. And I'm happy we're doing this interview now, like right before you launch your first boots on your website. Like this is great to hear, like all these accounts of like, man, hanging out with these legends in the industry.
Yeah. I was in, everybody. I was in Austin. Lee Miller was kind enough, just reached out, spent some time with him. He was generous. The wealth of knowledge he has is just mind blowing. Ugo with Unmarked and Leon also, just like a wealth of knowledge and skill and experience and craftsmanship. And honestly, it's just been really humbling, and at the same time, like, so fulfilling to be around people who, again, are just generous with their time and their expertise.
Yeah, and they know their stuff, and it's definitely a blessing to be around that. And yeah, I'm with you too. It's like, I'm really like the idea of, having a brand, being successful. There's just so many moving parts to all of it that you really like going into business for yourself. I've been in the military. People carry you almost, and they treat you like a child. But when you're starting your own business, that's when you really come into your own as a man. It's like, okay, I'm vulnerable from every direction now.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing protecting me right now.
Yeah. You're out there in the middle of the circle looking around like,
Yes. Yes. And it's either I have to hold my ground and start building this thing up and fortify it, or I'm toast. So yeah, like you said earlier in this talk, people that are in business, man, that I really admire people that are in business as opposed to like an institution that just carries you. It's like, no, a business, when you're your own boss, like you are really so vulnerable, and it takes so much courage to do it. It takes courage. That's something that I don't feel gets talked about enough, is having your own business. It takes a lot of courage, and
for sure.
Yeah, a lot of faith. And yeah, so for that, man, I got to commend you, taking it this far. This is great.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salud.
Salud.
Yes. The next question I wanted to ask you is, you picked the Chelsea as your core offering right now.
Yeah.
What was it that led you to the Chelsea? I think that's a solid choice, but I'm just curious, like, what was the thought process with the Chelsea there?
Honestly, when I got into boots or started to get into it, the first pair I ever bought was the Clark's Gobi. To me, then it was like, the pinnacle. I was like, this boot is awesome. It's beautiful. Like, I really started to explore, just like everything else, sneakers or anything I've been into, and just really appreciate it. I mean, I got myself, I think, like 3 pairs, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. I just really liked it, and from there it kind of progressed. But I just liked the silhouette. I liked that it's a hybrid, and it's something I'm going after, kind of a hybrid boot that you can dress it up with the right, leather, the right look, and you can also dress it down, whether it's jeans or whatever you have on, and it works. Easy, low maintenance, and it's really what attracted me to that. And that's why I say it's always been my first love. And then I set off. I didn't know any better, if that makes sense. So I was like, well, it's Chelsea. It is. It's my first love. It's what I like to see. It's what I want to wear. Obviously, that's now progressed. I also chose, in just learning about it, I think probably the most challenging boot, if that makes sense, from the standpoint of like, it has to be snug enough, comfortable enough in the right areas, and it's been tricky.
Chelseas are tricky because they're not lace ups, right?
Right.
And all the tension has to be just right on the instep for it to work. The ankle and the instep, that's where it's got to be perfect. Yeah, I only have 3 pair of Chelsea boots currently, but I'm with you. My first pair of Chelseas was Clark's. It was a pair of black Clark's. And you know how engineer boots, they have that toe track down the center?
Yeah.
Like that line. Well, these Chelseas, it was kind of funny. They had a toe track like deliberately like sort of stitched in. It was like these 2 folds came together and stitched over like a toe track down the center. It was like quarters of an inch wide, and came all the way down to the toe. And they were so comfortable. I love those things. I've since donated them to my father because he doesn't buy nice footwear for himself. So
you're like, here, I got you.
Yeah. I offloaded all my Clarks to my father. Yes, but the Chelsea is an absolutely phenomenal choice. It's such a comfortable boot, and I love that it's slip-on. The only challenge is just getting that size right. It's just making sure that instep tension is just right to slip your foot in and out. And so that's really cool. And yeah, I was reading about your last process. So you have what's called the 199 last. It's got a roomy toe box and a similar waist, but you sort of designed it to sort of accommodate like most people's foot types, right? So
yeah, I mean, that was important. We kind of like tweaked around with it a lot, and then just kind of like the instep part, making sure, because I mean, again, and then that's what's tricky about footwear too. It's also just like welted. Every foot now, through my experience with this, I really feel like everybody should have custom pairs of shoes, right? Yeah. Like if you want it, everybody's foot is so vastly different.
Yeah.
And fluctuates, and fluctuate in weight and height and instep, longer foot, and then Europeans to Americans to Mexican people. Like it's wild.
That's so true. So true.
being the only person like initially that tried them on, it was also keeping in perspective that like I have a bunion in my right foot. I have a high instep. I'm flat footed, I would say. Things like that in perspective, but getting the instep to be comfortable and enough volume in there without being, too loose. So we ran through a lot of different samples, and part of the reason it's taken forever, but I feel like where we're at, and I've sent out a pair, Ben from Stitch Down, Brian from Boot Hunters. And so those are, two people whose opinion I really value and have a lot of different perspective. And so I feel like, for the most part, we did a good job, and I hope that it's received that way. And, the idea is to keep making improvements and keep building the thing. But finally, really comfortable with it from an aesthetic perspective, from a materials perspective, from functionality perspective, where it's at now. But that has not been an easy journey.
Yeah, and I'm looking at just visually, since I look at boots like basically all day now, visually looking at your last, I think you really nailed it. I mean, it's sleek, it's beautiful, it's got a nice slope to it, but it also looks like it would accommodate a larger volume foot. Really nice rounded out at the toe, similar to these, which I definitely appreciate with my foot type. Yeah. I think your silhouette is really, really good. I mean, that's everything I would want in a Chelsea right there, just subjectively speaking. I see that you're going to offer it in both black and maple. Excellent choices. One thing that I noticed right off the bat, I really love the 360-degree Goodyear welt and the storm welt on there. And then also, like, what really struck me about your boots in particular is that heel stack. The heel stack is beautiful. It's like,
thank you.
It looks like you have, so it looks like you have 2 layers of leather at the midsole, and then in the heel stack itself, an additional 2 or 3 layers.
No, so in the black, I mean, I actually have it here, can see. So in the black, I have, we're changing the soles, but it's two heel stacks, and then so there's 1, 2, and then the midsole, and then the welt, the storm welt. But
okay,
it is a little. I mean, it's got a good thickness to it. Yeah, really good stuff. Veg tan, see the whole way. So that. So it's durable. You can do a lot of things with it. You can dress it up, dress it down. And then the maple one, it's about like 2.5 stacks now. So, but also kind of a little bit more low profile, Dr. Soul outsole. So you kind of have that, if you want it a little bit more elegant for people who like the thicker, chunkier, outsole, we have that as well. So offering a little bit of some options there.
Yes. Yeah, and I really like the choice of sole that you went on for the black pair. So you went with the Dr. Soul Raw Cord, right? The super grip.
It's not the cork, yeah, but the raw cord outsole for. And I have the brown one here, full sole.
Ooh, nice. Went with the day-night micro stud on that one.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
But worked on, the crimping, the profile now. It's a lot sleeker there. So
nice. Killer. Excellent choices there. What was the thought process with the that's my preferred look, the 360-degree storm welt. I really think that looks so sharp.
Yeah.
That's my idea of a complete welt right there, a complete Goodyear welted boot, similar to these are my J. Crew Chelseas, and they're built similarly. They have the 360-degree storm welt all around, and I think that's like such a good look. But yeah, these were part of the J. Crew or Stripe collection. I don't wear them a whole ton. They're absolutely solid Chelseas. I got them on sale for, I think, like, they were marked down from like 300 to like 180 or something like that. So I bought a couple pair.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
yeah, it's pretty good, especially for what you're getting. So, but yeah, I really like the look of that 360-degree storm welt. I'm just a huge fan. What was your thought process in picking that particular welt as opposed to like a 270 and a flat welt or something like that?
Honestly, for me, I was so used to, up until that point, where I was in my journey, like seeing a lot of like, whether it was Flatwell, just traditional Goodyear well. And when I saw the Stormwell, I personally liked the look of it. Yeah. And then once, I got with my current manufacturer, the quality of the welt and the thicker lip we're able to source on this Stormwell, I feel like is really unique. It's beautiful, and it really pops it really gives it that contrast, especially on that black, really gives it that contrast between leather to the welt. But I mean, mainly, but it's really kind of thick, and even it just looks good. I mean, really, that's what it was. Functionality standpoint works great, but I know people, I've really got into the kind of the 270 now, and just even the Flatwell. I mean, obviously stitched down, but it's harder to resole. So I don't know. Personally, I just really like the way it looks.
Me too. I like the chunky look of it. I think it looks really sharp. Let me see. Let me grab. Okay. Here we go. Here's a similar look. I would say that the Grant Stone Diesel in Black Chrome Excel, and I love that the black against the natural sole, and I just love that chunky look of the Stormwell lip around there. I just think the natural against the black just has such a striking appearance. So that's why when I saw your black Chelsea's, I'm like, that is just the perfect black Chelsea. That's how I would design it if I were designing Chelsea's.
I mean, I think that's part of the beauty of boots, like anything else. There's something for everyone, and some of the things may not be for you, and that's totally okay. The idea is to obviously be able to grow it where you can over time offer a variety of things. And if it's somebody, maybe this boot, maybe they don't like the Stormwell, and maybe down the line I can do just a Flatwell, and that'll resonate with them. That's perfectly okay.
Yeah, totally. Like, I have these black Grant Stone Chelsea's here, and they're flat welted, and with the black sole, it's a good sleek look, clean. But if I'm being honest, like, I'll wear these with like something businessy, but not on the day-to-day, because they're just too dressy. Like, on my day-to-day, I'd prefer something more like this, so that's why I feel like your design in particular for that black pair is like just going to be so much more accessible to people, because I won't throw these on casually. I could, but I just won't, because they're just so they're just so perfect for like a suit,
For sure.
So everything is going to be launched this month on your website, right?
Yeah, we're already in July. I know.
July. Crazy.
Yeah. So the idea right now is, so I'm actually running a Kickstarter for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So It's going to be a Kickstarter. The goal right now is 19th, a Tuesday of July. It'll be up there, and we'll start off through the Kickstarter, and hopefully, the idea is for that to go well, and we can get some boots out to people, November, December time frame, for people to get it in time for, winter, and so they can enjoy it. So
awesome. I wanted to talk about your website. Your website is beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you get that thing going? Did you pay somebody to design that, or how did your logo? I mean, the website itself is its own rabbit hole, but because been trying to get mine going, but yours is beautiful. So what was that like, building a website?
It was wild. I mean, honestly, I feel like, I have it like, if I show you, have it in front of me, just like initial everything on paper, and just like writing it down, and kind of having an idea, looking around for what I like, what I didn't like, and how to make it my own. But initially, again, I, my best friend, we call him Mike, Larry, I reached out to his sister, Raquel, and I was like, hey, Raquel, I got this idea. Like, she helped me design the first logo for it.
Awesome.
The first logo, and that's not even her background. I mean, she works for the IRS, but is really intelligent, capable. Helped me design the first logo for it. Was like, I'll help you with like WordPress. And I was like, I just need to stay. I had this like attitude and this mentality still, where it's like, I just got to stay in action. I kept telling them, stay in action, stay in action. And so she helped me develop like the first website, and I don't know if you saw the old one, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And that's
Well, I
okay.
didn't see the old one.
Yeah, I mean, it's night and day. I think
Yeah.
I have some pictures, and that's not a dig at her. Obviously, I appreciate it and love her very much. But
Yeah.
and as I got this, it was old samples. As I started to finally, like, what I have in my hand is what I've always envisioned possible. The quality, what it looks like, it's what I had in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, as that started to come about, I was like, well, I need to kind of put everything together. Like you said, not only the packaging, the presentation, but also like the website, because people are going there and what I have now versus what's shown there is not the same. So it could be confusing. So literally, I mean, through, again, the community, I was on Instagram. I have a friend we've never met in person that we connect with. And she was like, oh, Brittany on Instagram. Yeah. I was like, yeah, we talk. And he's like, she also does websites. Her name's Dina. Dina connected me with Brittany. And so I reached out to Brittany and was like, hey, Dina said you also do websites. Come to find out, she does websites, marketing, a lot of things. And she was like, you know what, like, I'll help you. Let's do this. And so we set up a call, got it together, got the ideas, ran through things. She taught me a lot of things that I didn't even understand or pay attention to. So Brittany, if you're watching, I'm super grateful for her. She's fantastic. If anybody needs it, she'll help you with it. She's a phenomenal person and great at what she does. So
cool. Well, I might need her help here shortly.
Yeah. She's more than willing, and just, because a lot of times you want a great product, but to me, it goes back to the relationship. Like, I mean, we're friends. We talk, like, patient, again, I don't pretend to know how to build a website or understand it, because I don't. And just that support is invaluable.
Right. Yeah. When I got started, I just immediately reached out to Wyatt at Grantstone. I was like, dude, how do you run your website? And I also asked my buddy Isaac at Pigeon Tree Crafting. I was like,
yeah.
And they both said the same thing, Shopify. And I think I asked Angel at Nobleman's Apothecary too, and they all said Shopify. I'm like, okay, Shopify. So I started the website on Shopify. It's still not released yet, but I've been paying $30 a month to have Dale's Leatherworks sort of saved. Yeah. And I just got my graphic design sent over. It's not finalized yet, but I hired this guy named Primo to handle my logo. He said, just send me everything that you make, everything about your brand, and I will sort of take it and personalize it from there. And so yeah, so I just got that in. Let me see, I have it here. I could show you here. So here it is.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, so this is like everything. So like up here is going to be, I guess, like a smaller.
Yeah.
This is going to be the larger brand image, but we have both of my backpack designs on there.
It looks great, Dale.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was, it's a work in progress. I still don't have like the full resolution imagery of it yet, but it's little bit by little bit.
You're on your way, and it's like, that's fantastic,
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's like we talked about earlier. It's just incrementally building it, like building the sandcastle one grain of sand at a time.
Yeah. And if you're like, I've become a lot more patient through this process. I think it's helped me with my personal life as well. But just like, I was used to instant gratification.
Yes.
And this, what you're doing, what I'm doing, and just life in general doesn't really work that way. You're gonna be disappointed if that's what you're expecting. I was talking to Brittany about it. I feel like, you talk about logos. I know Christian, his name's Christian. He's from San Francisco. Just even with the logo, I was like, I reached out through social media. Somebody connected me. I saw his work. He does a lot of great work. And I was like, hey man, like, here's what I have. How can we improve this? he said, okay, well, here's what we can do. Worked on the leathers, and now what I have in terms of the logo, super happy with the Christian, the CD, the Christian Daniel. But I went through numerous people before I got to him and was like, oh, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is horrible for creatives, but I'm like, when I see it, I know.
Right.
And when I saw it, I was like, this is it. And I got some other things kind of in the works too, with creatives and logos. And I found a guy, San Diego, through somebody. His name's Johnny. He does incredible work. And we've been working on some stuff, and it's mind blowing.
Oh, I bet. I'm with you. When you see it, that light goes on. That's when you know it. It's you know, I've seen a lot of concepts, and even my wife, you know, she's helped me design some logos and stuff. And, you know, even me, I've tried to spitball some stuff, and it's just like, yeah, this works. It's good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't encapsulate my brand. You know, I could try to force it, but I'm not going to be happy. I want something that feels organic to me, genuine to me. And and so I know what you're saying. Like you need to see it. That light bulb needs to go off. You know it when you see it. It's like quality. It's like a quality pair of boots. You know it when you see it. You know, it just bing, light bulb goes right on. One thing that I really wanted to say, like compliment you on your website about, was the sizing. Like coming from the stitch down community, you already know the questions guys are going to have, and you address that like up front on your website. A lot of brands don't do that, but you compare the sneaker size, and then you compare the Alden size, the Viberg size to your boot brand sizing. And I really think that's really helpful, because that's always my trepidation when trying out a new brand, is like, how do I size? Do I just go the standard half down, which is usually the case, or full down like Viberg, or as in your case, true to size? I really like that you gave the breakout, like in the Christian Daniels, 10.5 will fit like a Viberg 9.5. Mm-hmm. It'll fit like an Alden True Balance 10, a Clark's 10. So that's really good. Thursday Captain 10. Compare that to the sneakers, New Balance, Nike, Converse, all 10.5. And so for me, like, I'm a Brannick 9, so I feel comfortable. Like, I'll order a pair of your boots in a size 9, and you know, that'll fit me right. So
yeah, I mean, like you just touched on it. Sizing is, you know, and starting off, like returns. I was just having this conversation with Marco and Chep and Leon, and just like, for a small brand, how hurtful returns are for small brands.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they can literally wipe out, and, you know, obviously I'm going to do right by people, but it's literally, I mean, there's no profit there. Sometimes with shipping costs now, gas, everything, it's wild, but, you know, doing the best you can. So I always have, and I hope people know this about me, or get to know this about me, that my intentions are to do right by people. And what I'm doing and giving you is the best I know how to, up to this point.
Yeah.
And I can own that and live with that and be comfortable with it. But, you know, I've tested it, given it to different people. I got a couple more comparisons, like a UK10, the Iron Rangers there, that I'll put up there on the website. But I went back and forth with the sizing there, like putting my own in kind of my foot, that I have a bunion, high instep. But I figured, you know, if I put it up there, and people can interpret it how they want, or what their experience is, but it's the facts. And from there, we can hopefully together, as this grows, you know, get you the absolute perfect size for you. And it's going to vary from leather to construction to last, but we've tried to be as thorough as possible about it.
Yeah, that's good. And, you know, I was happy to see you already partnered with Kyle from Grayle, because he's trying to get Grayle up. And speaking of being an entrepreneur and starting, Kyle from Grayle is trying to get Grayle up and running. So I'll plug him for a second. I'll leave Grayle in the description below. Sure. Anybody that has any information or insights in how to size between different brands, please get on Grayle and start uploading your reviews and your sizing tips, because it's really going to be a community based effort. Like I said in a recent video, I can't do it alone. I've uploaded over 20 different sizing recommendations on there. Probably, I think, close to 30, and still it's like, we need more. We just need more. And
For sure.
yeah, I was happy to see your brand, you guys partnering up, because that's like, I mean, that was a seed that you planted with him that I think is definitely going to yield fruit, because it's like getting that sizing information out there at the outset is so crucial. That's one thing I'd recommend to any boot brand, really. Like, I know how much confusion there was, like just with even heritage legacy brands like Alden, getting their sizing information right. I think getting it right out the door at the outset is so important. And so, yeah, so seeing you with Kyle, that was really good. So
yeah,
are there any?
Kyle's been fantastic, and I think what he's trying to do is great for the community, for everybody. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's people like yourself. You have quite the collection, so you've experienced a lot of different lasts, different makeups, different leather, and people like yourself, Brian Boot Hunter. I mean, the collection he has too. So, and then everybody in the stitch down community too. I feel like when I went to Chicago with them, it was really helpful because I got to sit with people, be around them, be on the bus, and I mean, people know their stuff and have I would say it was, the most individuals of different sizes from different parts of the world that have various collections. So you got to really see like, okay, well, so this works. You're this size. This is what your foot's like. And I was just sometimes sitting there in awe, just listening, taking in all this information, so that community is, again, phenomenal.
Yeah, there is such a wealth of information there. And there's even one guy in the Stitch Down Discord that's like, he'll take people will send him a picture of the boot on their foot and he will rate how well it fits. I'm just like, that's like, he's like, you could shorten this and add this and do this. And I'm like, oh man, that's another level. Like,
for sure.
That's like one step short of just doing an X-ray image of your foot inside the boot and see where your bones fit.
I mean, those guys are phenomenal. And just everybody, I talked to NFT Bootmaker, different people online, and everybody. If I leave people, I know this is not an interview to plug people, but I can't thank everybody enough. Like, everybody's been phenomenal, and the wealth of knowledge, and even just going to the last maker in Leon and his name's Ruben, working with him, and he was taught by this Italian guy and it was Stefano is his name, and and to have in Leon, Mexican last makers taught by Italians or some Spanish from generations, like that have been doing it the old school way. That infusion is just good for everybody who goes there, makes lasts and brands, and
definitely bringing that old world expertise to the table. That's why I'm so fascinated by these Indonesian makers. They were influenced by the Dutch, and that's why a lot of their lasts look the way they do. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Like, this doesn't look like something that was purely, I guess, Indonesian in inspiration, but when you say, oh, Dutch, this is a Dutch inspired shape, like, oh, I get it. I see like the German look,
right,
the German inspiration there. It's just so cool taking that old world knowledge and translating it to, but continuing the legacy of boot making. It's so fascinating. I love it. I love how, and like you said, the melting pot, it's like different cultures come together and they have an influence on the ultimate build, but then also the last shape very much depends on the common last shape found in the region.
There's a place here in it's called like Los Altos, so a lot of tequila is made there. But people there, it's like it was heavy colonized by the Spanish. And so like if you go there to the region, it's like you have the men and the women are really tall. The men are like 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", tall, blue eyes, blonde, like, fair skinned. So like
Yeah.
It really varies by region. Some people are shorter and different, it's wild. So
yeah, definitely. I know that like that's why like the lasts in Spain, Italy, Portugal, they're typically very narrow and low volume, and they don't fit my foot type very well. But that's why they look so sleek and long and narrow and everything. And then you get into like Germany and the UK, and it's like wide troll feet and shorter high insteps, larger volume. So it's just it's fascinating how it just varies from region to region. But yeah, just to see the traditions passed on and how they influence the last shaping and all that. It's so fascinating to watch manifest. So in your talk with Boot Hunter, you talked about, you hinted at possibly doing a service boot one day, like not only going from the Chelsea, but like moving up into the service boot realm. What would that look like for you?
I've kind of, and some people might have alluded to it, but, working on some different things in the background,
Okay.
in hope that, the ideas for this to go well, and it allows for other things to kind of come to fruition. But, really falling in love with, a lace up kind of service boot. Like, it wasn't really on my radar like that, and just kind of being immersed in the community and Instagram, and I'm like, man, and now having the ability to have some on my feet and unlined and a little bit thicker leather, and just the rawhide laces, or the variety you can switch them out with, the colors, the patterns are different, the silhouette, you can dress it up, dress it down too. Something I'm really fascinated with, and hope that can bring to market one day.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Would you keep the same last, or would you do a different last, do you think?
So I feel like this last works. I mean, I have a sample, and we've used the same last, and I've started to run it even in an E width, and it's, I would say, really comfortable, good amount of volume. I like the way it fits, the way it feels. God willing, things go well, we can see what happens. But exploring a lot of different options just right now, just staying active. I mean, I got a new last made, working with spring line also on some things. So just trying to, get some options going, get some things going, and see what happens.
Keeping plugging and playing. I think that's the the right way to do it, for sure. Yeah. To say that I'm stoked about your brand is an understatement. I can't wait to watch it launch. I'm definitely going to go in on those on that maple pair. I'll put in an order. I'll do the sizing. I'll do the visuals and all that, and hopefully start pointing people in the right direction. Hopefully, start getting you afloat.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I feel like I owe you a pair, and again, it's been what people don't, I wish I had 10 pairs to give out to people and just say, hey, but it wasn't the case, just timing the whole situation. But
I'll happily jump in and support you guys. I mean, I'm inspired by what you're doing, and we've been talking for a long time, and it'd be my honor and pleasure, my friend. It's what I do. I buy boots. I'd love to not only get my hands on a pair, but also help invest in and help a brother out. Help a fellow entrepreneur out along in his journey. So yeah, it's
well, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. I'll be keeping my eye out for that launch. You said the 22nd of this month?
The 19th is the goal of July. Yeah, because I mean, we go back to the same thing. What goes on in the back end is chaotic. So, and I'm gonna need a bag of yours as well, Dale. So we'll talk offline and see what we can do.
Hey, I will hook you up, my man.
It's beautiful. I mean, what you're putting out is phenomenal. So I mean, I'm a huge fan, and excited for your journey, and excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the bag thing, it was just something I never set out to do, something like that, but like I just didn't see what I wanted out there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
let me try to build one and
Yeah.
see how it goes.
But that's how things start, right? And it's like this weird, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but just you have this in imposter syndrome, almost like, well, should I really be here? Is this really, and at the end of the day, it's like, if you're passionate about it and you're going to put forth effort, then you should. That's,
Yes.
And what you're putting forth is, you can see the passion, the love behind it, and the quality, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome, I like that, because it's like, I don't feel like I'm a leather worker. Like, I just watched some YouTube videos, ordered some tools. Like, I don't feel like I'm really it, but I'm just gonna keep doing it. And if I keep getting and that's what's so amazing about the internet these days, is you can really take a concept and for free get all this free advice back. Think about, like, back in the 90s, you had to hire like consultants, or even in the early 2000s, you had to have consultants. It's like, no. Now the internet is your consultant. People will give you their opinion for free.
Sure.
It's a beautiful thing. And most people are very encouraging, and so that's what I love about it. And I feel like an imposter, but I look over and I see a bag and it looks functional, and people, I've gotten good feedback on my bags, and I'm open to improving the design and my workmanship. Sure. I know that there's things that could definitely be improved, but I'm just taking it one step at a time. And
for sure.
Yeah, hopefully one day I'll get a stitching machine and I'll be able to, crank 3 out a week. But right now I can only do like one every 2 weeks. Well, one every 10 days. If I'm really grinding, it takes about 10 days. So
you'll for sure get there. And I
hope so.
You just triggered an idea, but like, definitely offline, I'll talk to you. But I mean, you're going to get to wherever you're supposed to go. And I'm excited for your as well.
Yes. Thank you, my friend. Likewise. I know that God has a plan for you and your brand, and I see the dedication in your eyes, and I know you're going good places. So I think we just hit 2 hours, so we could probably close it up now. This has been an epic talk. So,
yeah. I really appreciate it, Dale. Honestly, it means a lot that you had me on, and huge fan, and appreciate you.
Likewise, my friend. Yeah, this has been epic. Thanks so much for taking the time, coming on to my channel, sharing your story, sharing the brand. It's really got me excited about it. So yeah, let's do this again sometime soon, especially when we got, maybe a new makeup coming down the pike or something like that, a new announcement. We'll have the link back up for sure.
This time I'll make sure to get it out to you, and you'll be one of my you can test it out and see what you think of it, feedback. And
yeah, definitely. I'd love to. It'd be my honor, my friend. So heck yeah. Well, again, Christian Daniel, thanks so much for coming on, my friend, and take care. And I'll talk at you next time.
Thanks. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Anytime, man. You too. Talk to you later.